Next panel, really excited to introduce them. We have, they'll be talking about the impact NFTs can have on creators and enterprise brands. Please give a warm welcome to Justin, Micol, Erin, and Julian. Come on up, you guys.
All right, good morning. Thank you all for being here. I'm excited to be on this panel with some good friends in the audience as well as some good friends on the panel. We're going to get started right away. So we'll start with introductions down on my far right with Micol.
Hi everyone, my name is Micol. I'm the CEO and co-founder of VerticalCrypto Art, and we're a platform and curatorial studio which focuses primarily on art on the blockchain.
Hey everyone, my name is Julian. I'm the founder and CEO of Momento NFT. We're basically the TikTok of Web3, where we help influencers, celebrities, and creators turn their short-form video content into NFTs.
All right, and hi everyone, my name's Erin. I'm one of the co-founders of Curve Club, which is actually a private members club dedicated to Web 2 and Web 3 founders, and we're starting to open up in Shoreditch.
And I'm Justin Johnson. I get the opportunity to be the moderator, but I also work at a company called MoonPay, serving on the concierge team, working with high net worth individuals, celebrities, creators, and talent looking to get into Web 3. So with that, kind of an open-ended question, and I'll start with Erin this time, and then I'll add commentary after Micol. Why do NFTs matter?
All right, so we're going to kick things off slightly on our use case of why NFTs matter. We're actually using it for like identification. So for our membership, everything is going to be, our membership is an NFT. So I think we're really excited about it because it's just a unique opportunity for just a different use case of like how to do memberships, how to get people in and out of things. It's a unique identifier. And then on top of that, depending on different events, we can like airdrop fun things into your wallet. And there's just like a whole world of creativity out there to kind of like switch things up.
And then double clicking into that for you, I think it's important just for others in the audience to learn, and maybe those who would watch this if it's recorded, a little bit more of the inception behind the idea of Curve Club and how it connects to NFTs.
Yeah, so as everyone out here probably knows, London's like a little bit further behind when it comes to crypto, Web3, and everything like that. So Curve Club really came about because we decided we want to be like one central hub for everyone to come together. We want them to feel authentic, inspired. We want to bring together the community, especially when it comes to being ahead of the curve, knowing what's coming, and that collective communal come up.
Love it. Julian, same question. Why do NFTs matter, and how does that application tie to Momento at large?
Yeah, so I think for creators particularly, it's super important now that people are spending more and more time right online. Digital property rights are sort of in its infancy right now, and NFTs are the #1 way for you to own and monetize your content. Right? So what's really been happening in the past decade is on Web 2, you are kind of putting up content for free for likes and follows, right? So that the Web 2 companies can run ads against your user base, right? Your fan base. So if you're a creator, you're putting your heart and soul into something, but Facebook is running toothpaste ads, right, to your audience. It really doesn't match up, right? And so now with NFTs, we're allowing creators to, like I mentioned before, monetize their actual content and reach out to their community. So I think over the next decade, what we're gonna see is, sort of a watershed moment for community building and direct sort of this idea of a fandom platform. And that's what we're trying to build.
Got it. And then Micol, same question to you. Why do NFTs matter? And I think amongst the panel, Micol has a very interesting perspective given her experience, but also present day, what she focuses on more of the actual artists within the galleries and things of that sort. So from your angle, just love to hear, why do NFTs matter?
Yeah, obviously like echoing what everybody just said, but particularly for what we do, focusing on artists, especially for digital artists, NFTs represent a medium to transact and to sell digital work on the blockchain. And other than that, another important factor is provenance. So what NFTs and actually blockchain technology really allows to do is to have that provenance. So artists and collectors and the history that happens across the NFT when it's sold and resold is on the blockchain. And that is an extremely important factor. And of course, on the back of that, we have royalties. So for the longest time, artists have not been able to get royalties for work that is resold. Usually when work is resold, you probably even don't know about it as an artist. It's done through galleries, it's done through private collectors, and so what NFTs allow specifically within the art space is provenance, royalties, and obviously being able to transact work, especially if you work on a digital medium.
And then double-clicking to the next question, and we'll start with you. Talking about your favorite use case that you've either worked on, been a part of, or seen from a creator, artist, or brand entering Web3 via Web2.
Yeah, actually, I think one of the recent, it's not something that I've worked on, but that I've seen, and I've worked with some artists that have worked with this use case, has been the Gucci Vault. I don't know if like the audience or you guys are familiar with it, but basically...
Let's get real-time feedback. Who's familiar with the Gucci Vault? All right. We got some people, yeah.
Cool, yeah, no, essentially I think what, it's interesting to see like bigger brands come into the space and having, we founded VerticalCrypto Art almost 3 years ago. So obviously we've seen, the ups and the downs and a lot of brands coming in a certain way, others maybe a bit better. And I think what Gucci did quite well is actually partnering with independent fashion creators and artists and really bringing them into their journey. And I think with that, they've tapped into a Web3 native audience and they've tapped into the artists and their creativity in building what they're doing within Web3. So I thought that use case, one of the most recent ones actually, was very interesting.
Julian, same question. Has any involvement either with an artist, creator, brand that you've been a part of that you've seen and enjoyed their use case as they entered Web3?
Yeah, so, for us, it's kind of like a viral fest on the app, right? A lot of the athletes, particularly on our app, what they go and do is mint their very first, like, viral moment. And so we had a New York Giants player who was actually here in London have kind of like a funny situation, and he minted that and released it out to his audience, right? And so we attach utility directly to our NFTs instantaneously. So it was an opportunity for him to not only sort of rewrite the narrative of what would have been an embarrassing moment, but then also reach out to his community. And he gave out signed merchandise, so signed footballs, and he's gonna have a meet and greet with some of his fans, right? So that's what I was sort of mentioning earlier, where we're attempting to take fandom to a level that hasn't been seen on the internet so far. And we're opening that opportunity up to all types of creators. So influencers and athletes, not just only celebrities.
And same question goes to you, Erin.
Cool. So this one actually is a project where I'm just close friends with the founding team. So I don't know if anyone in this room knows of Crypto Coven, but I really like what they recently just did, where outside of just creating like a regular NFT, they kind of like were one of the first people that we saw to create like, it wasn't only a game, but like an interactive, like they get like in real time like feedback, and they created like a full narrator's hut. You can collect different tokens. I think it's like a bit straightforward, but I think I most enjoy it when you see someone's own personal spin on it, when it's just something a bit unique. They're coming at it from a different angle, but yeah, that's all I have to say.
Love it. And then I'll add my own commentary. So the project that I got really excited to support and get behind was through the San Antonio Spurs. If there's any basketball fans in the room, I live in San Antonio, and for this particular use case within NFTs, they were actually selling out NFTs from Greg Popovich for handwritten plays that he's had throughout his career. He's the winningest, most winningest basketball coach in the history of the sport. And all the money raised, which was about $150,000 US at the time, donated to the San Antonio Food Bank. So for me, that use case of playing bigger than the sport and not just trying to make money off of it, but actually impact lives and feed people and provide those opportunities was something that I was like, this is really special, not only for this project, but the application of that use case as a framework for others to follow. And so with that, there's a lot more brands and creators and talent that don't get involved in Web3, have hesitations in joining or doing anything around it because there's just a lot of stigma. So I want to open that discussion for you all to discuss. Why do you think that is the case? Why do you think there is hesitation from talent, creators, brands having the strong hesitancy to actually move forward and be more forward-thinking and actually doing in Web3? We'll start with you.
Okay, great question. This is actually something that we talk a lot about because like being at Curve, we meet a lot of like Web2 founders. I think the biggest thing holding them back, whether it's like a creative, whether they're an artist or what it is just, they just don't know. I think it's a lot of pieces into it. They just think it's a bit overwhelming. They don't really know where to start. There's like, if they even start researching somewhere, they can be like inundated with a lot of data, and they just don't know like what's good and what that looks like. So I think a lot of people are just hesitant just because they don't really understand how to get into this space. But fortunately, there are a lot of outlets now that help onboard pretty much any demographic in. But that's what I would have to say.
Love it. Julian, same question. You kind of sit at a very interesting intersection also, so would love just your perspective there.
So I think historically there's just been a lot of bad actors in the space, right? And so people are very scared of, right, like rug pulls, scams in general. But I think for us, when we deal with creators who have a big sort of personal brand, it's that, right? It's that vulnerability to their personal brand. They don't want to expose their communities or their fan bases to a potential financial loss or a public embarrassment, right? So that's where we kind of step in as like a middleman, sort of, in a way that gives authenticity to the profile that is posting. So we give out blue check marks, right, to our featured artists, right? So we do a process there that allows the fan to feel comfortable knowing I'm buying this NFT from this sort of verified account. But yeah, right, to go back to your question, for me, I think it's just there have been a lot of bad actors early on in the space.
And with that, for talent specifically, and I know you kind of had the exposure to some of the bigger ones, is the goal always to make money?
No, so that's the funny thing here, right? If you imagine these athletes, their daytime job is actually, right, in a stadium on the field, right, trying to win a championship. They make millions of dollars every year, right? So they do this really because they want to connect to their fans. They are looking for a platform that allows them to do that. And now NFTs, thanks to things that Dapper Labs has done with NBA Top Shot and things like that, it is in the culture where they want to engage with their fans, and they finally find a real way to do that. Web 2 is not the real way to do that, right? A super edited, high post-production, Instagram post is not the way you connect with your audience. Twitter is probably a really great way to connect with bots, right? But so for them, they're looking for something more. And NFTs are the thing that they have decided, right? So we work really well with them.
And then Micol, your perspective I'd love on both maybe digital artists or even traditional artists just hesitant to join Web3 and do something in that space.
Yeah, I think we actually had a conversation yesterday about this. I think the user journey for somebody going into Web3 is still really, really complicated.
I agree.
And as much as we want to, like you, even when I talk about it with my friends that have like no idea about crypto or don't hold ETH, Bitcoin, like, okay, you got to get a Coinbase wallet, and then you have to transfer your money into Coinbase, and then you have to download this, tiny little app called MetaMask, and put your seed phrase, but don't lose it. Make sure you like save it 150 times and give it to 150 people, because if not, you're, and then you might get scammed, and it might be a rug pull, and then you might lose ETH because you're betting. So the user journey is not there yet. We are at the very start of what it will be. And so I think that puts a lot of people back in coming into the space, especially when we talk about artists. Like, artists are used to making art, especially coming from the traditional art world. They're used to having galleries, agents, people that are doing things for them. So when you talk about Web3, when you look at like the art ecosystem within Web3, artists are asked to do everything and anything, from like setting up your own wallet up to promoting your own work realistically, because the way to promote work is on Twitter pretty much. So it's a lot of steps. And I think that's why some people are hesitant. And of course, a lot of the not so positive headlines also, I think, put people back a little bit.
Yeah, I think for me, I'll just echo the same sentiment, especially around user journey, user experience, to give someone something that is so foreign and they're just not used to, and then expecting them to do the thing that we want them to do, but yet there's 20 steps or more, right, to get to the end. And I think the unification of both the user experience and that interface, and just making it so simple as signing up for an email account, but now it's a wallet address, is where we should be headed, where we are headed. So I'm really excited about that, just removing the friction and barrier. And so I'm mindful of time, so we got a couple questions left, and we might be able to take one or two from the audience. So with that, we'll start back with you, Erin. What brand or creator would you like to see get involved with NFTs,
Okay.
and why?
Great question. We're actually speaking right before this panel, and initially I really was super excited for a lot of like those big high fashion brands coming in because they're working with a lot of like really cool people in Web3. But since they're already entering the space, I think what I'm actually most excited for is seeing what brands come into it, because I think it's just such a cool opportunity to like also bring more women into the space. I think pushing people outside of their comfort zone. And I think this year, since we are in like a bear market, it's a great opportunity for people to be building, and I think a lot of people are. So I think next year there's going to be some not only really exciting brands that are partnering with really cool projects, but a lot of new names that we haven't seen before.
Julian, same question.
Yeah, so for me, there are two names. Number one is Mr. Beast, right? This guy is a creative genius. And I think that if he were to be making NFTs, you would actually see, right, the crystallization of what good utility is in an NFT drop, right? We were in talks with Jimmy. So Jimmy, I'm still looking for you. But I think the second would be LeBron James, right? I think there's just, he's got a lot. So Taco Tuesdays is like a huge viral thing, right? And he has other NBA stars that sort of jump in on those videos. There's a lot of viral moments. I mean, the social currency that LeBron carries with him off the court is almost as huge or maybe even bigger than on the court. And so I think, right, his fan base is loyal, been around for a really long time. I think they'd enjoy a lot of those moments.
And Micol, same question.
I don't really have like somebody that I want to get into NFTs or that I'm looking forward to. I think what I'm pretty much looking forward to is to seeing how people use this technology a little bit better than how it's being used now, and not just as a money-making machine, but actually really digging into like blockchain technology and how NFTs can be used for social good, for other purposes, for connecting with your fans, with your follower base, for like live events, for live performances. Those kind of things are what I'm mostly like looking forward to.
Got it. I have an answer for this because I wrote the question. So I think the two people that come to mind for me that could be really interesting to get into NFTs are the Jordan brand, or Michael Jordan himself, that represents him through the brand via Nike, which they haven't done anything specifically with the Jordan brand. And then secondly would be Drake, arguably one of the top 5 biggest artists in the world, where their influence, in line with the LeBron James of the world or Mr. Beast as a digital creator, people follow. And so for them, I think there's probably, kind of alluding to the conversation's hesitancy, because they don't want to have that stigma or something falls flat, or the utility is only merchandise that they can go purchase in store. That's really not utility, it's sales. And so I think for them, getting a marquee player as such, or a public figure, can really help shape the narrative and bring the masses. I mean, Mr. Beast, I'm just curious by a show of hands who's familiar with him, right? In the US, where I'm based, you go to any Walmart and you see the YouTuber that's all over these boxes selling chocolate. And then he's selling burgers. And then I don't know what else he's gonna sell next, but anything that he sells is very methodical and thought out. So if the LeBrons of the world, the Drakes of the world take that use case, apply it via Web3, I think that could be really interesting for scale and adoption and just normalization, where it doesn't feel so foreign and feel so different that they feel outcasted or outlierish. And so with that, if anyone has any questions for the panelists, we can take probably one or two just in the sake of time. So if you have a question, feel free to just stand and introduce yourself. Go ahead. Thank you. I was going to repeat the question, but you saved me some time.
Yeah, just a question around like the adoption and with creators and bringing new people on board. What do you think the impact in a shift of terminology will happen from like NFTs to what we've seen with Reddit and digital collectibles, and that kind of shift in language to make it a bit more easier to digest and understand? What impact do you think?
Yeah, I can take this and then feel free to add. But I think Reddit's a perfect use case of being able to essentially become the leader in adoption of usage of NFTs via avatars, right? And I think language is very important. Similar to now, like everyone uses their phone for internet, but now internet is synonymous with Wi-Fi, right? And those language barriers, I think, become more inclusive, easier to understand. NFT, it's an acronym that most people don't know what the hell it means, right? Like that's the average person does not know what it means, and that's okay, but there's also an opportunity to make that more clear of what is an NFT? It's a digital asset. Well, what is a digital asset? That's where I stop, because like that hasn't been defined clearly from my perspective, but maybe y'all have an answer that I'm not aware of. So with that, I think being more inclusive, more open, more just acceptable of the terms, that way it feels more normal, can make it much easier to have these types of dialogue and conversations.
Interestingly enough, so essentially we're not opening up Curve Club till December because we just started this project 3 months ago. But as members have been joining, they've been so confused. They're like, we don't get it. Like, what's an NFT? And they'll be like, no. Like the NFT is your membership. So we've had to go through like this like whole new vernacular of just having them comfortable with things, especially because I think a lot of like the traditional like Web2 founders don't really know what any of the terms are. I think someone was like, no more shilling, and they were like, what are you saying? So we've had like a lot of those funny moments, but I think we'll finally come to like, especially over the course of like next year, like a new way of saying things. I think it'll be more common.
Yeah, so I think there definitely is a shift away from the word NFT to digital collectibles. We put NFT in the name, and so actually, if you guys let me, I'd love to take a poll of the audience. Do you guys think we should remove the NFT from our name? Yeah, right. So that's something that we're considering. It's something that we're thinking about. Right. We want to participate in the reframing of the concept of NFTs and really, right, help bring that forward. But right, we do risk alienating a lot of the general population, and apparently half of the population here. Right. So it's something we're always thinking about. Yeah.
Rebrand on the way. Micol?
Yeah, no, I think like NFTs at the moment, it's just a big bucket for everything, right? And like you call NFTs art, you call NFTs collectibles, you call NFTs a membership. So realistically, I actually think it's a really good question. And I think it's good that we start defining what an NFT is accordingly to its digital art asset. It's a collectible, it's a membership. Like we don't have to call everything NFTs. NFT is just non-fungible token. Anything can be an NFT. So yeah.
What do you think?
Actually, funnily enough, on that note, like we don't really call the work when we sell work like art online, we don't really call it like NFT art. It's like just art, digital art, on the blockchain, crypto art. That's kind of like always how we've defined it. And actually, artists don't really like for their work to be called NFT art or to be called NFT artist because that doesn't mean anything. So
Interesting. We got time for one more question if there's one in the audience. If not, I have a final wrap question. Oh, we got one. The mic's coming to you.
I think just for the previous point, I think what the NFT actually captures is sovereignty, because a digital collectible can also be on a centralized database. So it's important to kind of preserve the term of what an NFT actually means. It's the only term that captures the essence of decentralization here. Everything else could just be on any centralized database. Just that.
Thank you. Anyone else? Not all at once. Let's see. Oh, we do have one. All right. It's kind of hard to see with the lights straight in my eyes.
So in terms of education, so for mass adoption to happen, for us to actually get 1 million users on our platform, education is really important, right? Where do you guys see that wave of education coming from to actually get masses of Web 2 coming onto Web 3?
Yeah, I think this is as relevant as last night, Instagram becoming an NFT marketplace, right? Most people in here, I would bet, that are either on Instagram right now during this whole talk or have Instagram. That makes it much easier to meet them where they're already at and providing education in-app, the experience to make it feel as they would of posting a video or posting a photo. So having these platforms like Facebook, like Instagram, Twitter, et cetera, become more normalized in the idea of Web3 to educate their user base and just connect it and bridge that gap, I think will make it much, much easier. I mean, Reddit, again, is the prime example that was discussed. Instagram, as of last night, with their announcement. So anything else y'all would love to add, more than happy to take it to share with him. And thank you for the question, too.
I also think we're going to see a lot of like Web2 brands just like leaning in. Like for instance, when anyone wants to get like a membership or anything, we actually have it so they can pay in Ethereum or they can pay in regular pounds or whatever their currency is, and then we actually go through, create the wallet for them because that's always like the one barrier of friction. Like you said, it's like you have to know like how to download a wallet. What does that look like? How do you find things? But I think the more and more people start doing that, and the more common it is, we'll see a lot of it.
I think there's actually also a lot of like universities and schools that are integrating blockchain and courses that actually teach about these things. So I think it's going to become more and more popular for just the normal world to talk about these terms, to talk about crypto, to talk about blockchain, to understand what the technology is. And actually, to be honest, my view is that I would rather people learn about what it is and understand what they're doing and how they're interacting with this technology rather than like being handheld and then kind of not knowing what is happening. So I think, yeah, the process of kind of like white glove services and hand-holding is great at the start, but then people also have to take a responsibility to understand what it is that they're going into, because that's also why you kind of have situations where you maybe lose money or because you don't know what you're doing. So I think education is a key part of it.
Agreed. And then with that, the last question for all, we'll start with you, Micol. Where can people find you on social media to keep up all the good that you're doing for Web3?
Yeah. So VerticalCrypto on Twitter, VerticalCrypto Art on Instagram, VerticalCrypto.art on our website.
Julian?
Yeah, so we're live on the Apple and Android store. So please, everyone, download the app, sign up, and you can start minting NFTs, buying NFTs. But me, you can find me on Twitter, product_J, and LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn like all the time.
All right, nice. And when it comes to Curve Club, it's just easy. It's curve.club. On Instagram, it's curve.club.official. Twitter's Curve Club, so it's all pretty much the same. And then for my personal, again, same as Julian, I'm on LinkedIn, and then my crypto Twitter is nudes NFT, which now I'm thinking I need to drop the NFT out of.
And I'm on Twitter at Justin Johnson, on Instagram at justin.johnson. Anything MoonPay related is at MoonPay. And with that, we will close out. So if we just give a hand to my panelists.